Welcome, guys. This is pretty much a dual presentation by Martin and I. This is Flat Earth British and Archaics. We just want to go over some of the points that we did in our meetup. You guys that were watching online were not able to see these amazing pictures of the things that we were discussing. And Martin's going to bring those pictures up for you right now and talk about some of these things. Very informal video. This is not some professional presentation. We just want to get the facts out because this is actually an invitation to other platforms and other YouTube channel hosts. Look, man, do your own research. We're opening the lid on something that is very profound, and it opens up a lot of questions as to why the deception. Why has academia gone so far to tell us an absolute lie? So we're discussing the Great Wall of Rome because we don't believe it's Chinese anymore.
No.
We're done with that narrative.
No.
And we're going to show you why in this video. So why don't you show them maps? Let's just start with the maps.
Okay. Exciting stuff indeed. So just give me a moment.
Yeah, these are going to be maps of the Great Wall. There's 5,000 miles of the Great Wall of China, maybe more. Wasn't there more?
Yeah. If you add up, like, there's some split offs that would have gone into into different communities. So if you add it all up, it's somewhere closer to 20,000.
This is an excellent vein of research for some of you that want to get into this. We don't have time. We're doing our other things. I'm focused on the Archaics and the Phoenix phenomenon. This is a genuine discovery that we mutually made when we were discussing these things. But there's other researchers out there who have the time. Follow those places where the Great Wall seems to divide and just end in these different areas. Were there ancient cities there? Were there ports there? Were there communities there? Why did it end right there? That's a good question. We didn't have time to look into all that.
No, I didn't. But any help along, this is definitely groundbreaking.
Did we show the videos of the wall?
But that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, I'm just showing you the nice.
Yeah, the videos are very impressive.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at this. Did you just?
No, they're only 17 seconds long.
Okay, so you look at these videos, and you have no reason to disbelieve the narrative. You're told it's the Great Wall of China, which you would be a fool to disbelieve it. Why? Because it's located in China, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact that an architectural structure is located within the confines of culture's nation is that proof that culture built that structure.
So I got a map up now of the orienteering everybody of where the Great Wall exactly is, and you can see it's just north of Beijing, and it's the defined border between China and Mongolia. It stretches from the Yellow Sea all the way from the sea, and it comes 5,000 miles inland.
It ends at Shanghai Pass.
Yeah.
We're going to show a picture of that, where what it does at Shanghai Pass was one of the first clues that we were onto something, that we're not dealing with a wall at all. We're dealing with something else.
So there's some of the older maps, finishing in the sea, and then
That's a beautiful map.
That is a beautiful map. But I find it interesting that, it curves off this way, and then it seems to be another red line that looks like it's faded out here, almost as if it's continuous this way.
We're going to show them evidence of prior construction soon.
Well, we are. This map I got from a Leeds Atlas 1733. It's not the Great Wall of China or the Great Wall of Rome, but it is another Great Wall. This thing must be 1,000 miles long, and it's in the Caucasus.
It's in the Caucasus.
Yeah, it's going across the whole Caucasus. It's a Great Wall, exactly the same style as the Great Wall of China, only in in the west of almost in Europe, really. And it's on the Silk Road. It's on the Silk Road, but it's the passage through the Silk Road through the Caucasus.
Okay.
So
what we're dealing with here, we're dealing with two different constructions, many thousands of miles apart, that are basically the same construction methods and probably the same builders.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on.
Okay, so what they're saying in the official narrative You found zero evidence of anything to do with anything, attacks or any wars.
So go ahead and tell them what the official narrative
Well, the official narrative is they built the wall. You know, the Emperor Han has built this wall to protect himself from the Mongol horde, which are the Tartars. Okay, and we already know the Tartars are not really that way inclined. They're not getting any masses of armies attacking this wall anywhere in any record in history. There's been no attacks on this wall. It is something completely different. It's not even a war.
Well, there's two fundamentals here. It was very disturbing to compare this narrative with the fact that Chinese history is rife with comments from Chinese historians and Western historians that the Chinese empire is going back thousands of years. Two facts. One, the Chinese have always been enemies of themselves. It's a feudal empire system they have maintained for thousands of years. China only was ever invaded by Chinese. They're infighting. It's a feudal system. They all want, when the mandate of heaven changes, they all fight for supremacy, which province is going to reign supreme over the others, and then they move their capital, and it's usually after a reset.
So that's true, yeah.
But we have to compound this with the fact that this massive fortification was built according to the establishment to repel the Mongol hordes. There's not one instance in the historical record of the Great Wall of China ever being used in defensive warfare. None. We have a problem here. That is a massive amount of stone and engineering to put this project together to have never been used for thousands of years. Even the laws of probability mandate that unforeseen and unprepared for invasions would have occurred. Mathematically, it just would have happened. But nothing. We have nothing from the historical record that the Chinese ever manned the Great Wall to defend against the Mongols. This is a narrative, but it's not in the historical record.
Well, we will see later on that this thing was definitely not any defensible position, as you'll see for obvious reasons. What you can see here now is one of these towers that you can see in the older wall. What you can see, it looks like an older wall underneath. It looks like there's one civilization gone straight on top of another civilization after a reset. There seems to be, show you some examples a little bit later on of some megalithic stone under this structure, showing that it was an older wall there before the people who designed it made it what they did, which is not a wall.
So why don't you go ahead and show them that it's two different constructions? Do you have those pictures?
Yeah, if you just get a bit forward, I was just going to show some examples of the wall's topography.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, okay.
So
I didn't know you were doing that yet.
So what you get with the Wall of China is a lot of higher prominent mountains all the way around it. If you had opposing armies or any armies attacking this, they would have the high ground. And they would just be able to kill everybody on the wall. This is not a place you would be able to hold. This is not a strategic position, and this is not a wall to defend against any Mongol hordes. Okay, we'll tell you exactly what this is a little bit later. But there it is when it meets the Yellow Sea. The end of the Great Wall comes along, and it's a pier. So if you had basically a navy, there's nothing to stop you coming around by here and invading anyway. So this wall, this sort of photograph here speaks 1,000 words. It sort of proves that this wall was not for defensive purposes and wasn't any fortification at all.
No, I want to add, you're not seeing what was originally there. You're not seeing the wooden wharfs and piers and all the ships that came to this place. This is the very end of the Great Wall. But it's not the end of what was happening. There was activity here, and we're going to reveal to you what that was.
Indeed, yeah. So as you can see, these high positions, if you had an army there, they just shoot down onto this wall here. Nobody would stand a chance. It's just definitely 100% folly. There's no way that any engineer has designed that. Now, what we found, there's another wall in Great Britain called Hadrian's Wall, which was built by the Emperor Hadrian, who is a Roman. Antiquity will tell you, or academia will tell you, it's the closest example they've got to the Great Wall of China anywhere in Earth. And it goes from coast to coast in the north of England, and apparently a defensive position to block against the Picts, who were the Scots, attacking the Roman Empire, because this was the northern extremities, apparently, of the Roman Empire. This vast empire, which went as far as the Caucasus, apparently, and encompassed the whole of Europe. We're going to tell you that is not the case. So you can see on the right, the Great Wall of China. What you will see is these. What are these called? These things here.
Okay, these are battlements, but the
Crenellations.
Yes, crenellations
Yeah.
is more proper. Did you show them that the crenellations were only on one side?
They're coming
Or
up
a
now.
one
So
wall?
I'm just drawing their attention to what you see on the Great Wall. Is you see crenellations either side of the wall. So if an army takes over that section of wall, they're literally, the designer is not going to give them some defense and protection on the other side of the wall. So, you know, so they can basically shoot at, you know, the people that they just captured it from. Makes zero sense. Okay. The equivalent in, excuse me, is of the Great Wall. Let me just squeeze through to there a second. Okay. Is that it's only got one side that has been castellated. You can see it here, the other side, because if anyone took over the wall, they're not being given a defensive position, which makes
no military engineers are ever going to give the enemy a defensive position. It's suicide. It's dumb.
It's
when
dumb.
you have your position overrun, you don't want your former fortified position to be used against you. So you do not crenellate both sides of a construction.
Makes no sense. So I'm going to show you an example here of this. This is a fantastic image I found in the 1870s photographic collection, really early on. You can see a lot of like sort of devastation, small bricklets outside, but what you can clearly see is maybe 3 ages of replacement. You've got these original megalithic stones underneath, which are really big. If you look at them to the human here,
Yeah, they're gigantic.
this one's, you know, look at the size of that.
Can't lift those.
That's just
people
one.
can't lift those.
No, that's just one, I know. And then you've got this red brick affair right above it. So this is the original. Then this, and then it looks to be a little bit of work done on the castellations as well, maybe later on, because there's a different shading. It looks like
we are dealing with 2,000 years of earthquakes.
Yeah,
they're going to repair. They're going to do repairs.
Yeah.
All
Sure,
that.
sure, yeah. So the dimensions. Should we talk about the dimensions a little bit? The Great Wall.
I want to hammer in the point about the crenellations. We have this in our notes here.
Okay.
Listen, the official narrative is that the Mongols are on one side, the Chinese are on the other side. But what we're dealing with is an elevated road that is protected on both sides, which doesn't make sense to the narrative. Meaning, whoever built and used this construction had to protect themselves from both sides. This isn't making sense according to the narrative, but it makes absolute sense to what we're going to reveal to you in this video. So yeah, the crenellations are another key. That was another red herring.
That was.
In all this.
That makes zero sense.
So what was your next series of images? Okay, first of all, have we already gone through all the images of the 2 different construction periods?
Yeah, that's what we just looked at. We got some more examples a little bit later on, but
we do for the Heliolithic, the large.
Yeah, that was them.
Okay, so let me address that. Okay, the official narrative is that an emperor, a Chinese emperor in 220 BC, I can't remember his name.
Emperor Han.
I don't remember if it's the beginning of the Han. It is the beginning of the Han Dynasty.
Yeah.
So this is what's interesting, because a Phoenix reset is recorded in the Chinese annals of the Han Dynasty. I have those records and I've published them in my published books and in my videos. But the Han Dynasty was a long time. It was over like 360, 400 years. But here we are told in our textbooks today that the Great Wall of China was built in 220 BC by an emperor who is responsible for the first 1,200 miles of the Great Wall. If this is true, if this is true, then it must have been a Herculean, very fast-paced effort, because the official narrative is he only ruled 10 years.
They say he built it in 10 years using 1/8 of the population of China.
This is now this is the official narrative. The narrative comes from the West. This is not Chinese records. Here's a really interesting thing we need to take in consideration. The same emperor who initiated the Great Wall project also burned every book in China. He destroyed all the libraries, killed the librarians. He burned every single record in China. This doesn't make sense. I am of the opinion that somebody else burnt these records, but that's neither here nor there. This is the official narrative. 220. Unfortunately, as Martin has shown, and you can verify yourself just doing image search of the Great Wall online, you will see Heliolithic architecture is at the bottom. These are megalithic blocks that no human today can carry. The original construction was there, and it's seen all along the wall. And then for miles, it's not seen because most of it was probably buried underground after the passage of time. And then for miles, it's all there again. Listen, whoever built the Great Wall built it over a much older structure. And the very fact that this structure is even there and it's re-shown over and over all the way, all the distance of the wall, means that a former civilization, a much more ancient civilization, had the same idea as the Romans, as we'll show you. And the Romans merely came in and rebuilt over a more ancient structure, which is something that the Romans did quite routinely.
So we started to unravel a series of discoveries which blew our minds, and it's pretty undeniable now. Is the dimensions, the engineering for this structure seem to follow a strict certain guidelines, but not for the Chinese Empire, because we've researched them, and their original building materials at this period are rough stone, not dressed. Okay,
not cut and dressed.
Not cut and dressed. I'll show you examples. You look for yourself. And really crude buildings made from mud brick and wood and just, actually paper, in some cases walls, and bamboo. So it's a nature of, earthquakes and stuff. They make them earthquake proof, don't they? So
yes.
So they don't fall in on them. So is it too early to mention the dimensions on the watchtowers and the engineering, because they're the
It's actually a really good time.
Yeah. So Jason hit me up with, so we've proposed, guys, that this was built, we'll go into details shortly, by Rome, as you can see on the thumbnail, by the Romans. Okay, so the evidence to support this, okay, we're going to present now. So what Jason is proposing, what we think is going on, is it was just designed. They're engineering geniuses, okay, the Romans, but it would have been built by Chinese coolies. They would have been the labor force, but the engineering is Rome, and this is why. Jason hit me up with, check out the width on a Roman road, okay. It turns out Roman road is between 13 and 16 feet.
Hundreds of thousands of miles throughout all the Roman Empire, Roman provinces, all that, their roads were standardized, like ours today.
Yeah. So that was the average, okay?
13 to 16 feet.
Turns out the Great Wall of China, 13 to 16 feet.
The entire length of the wall, 13 to 16 feet in width.
So it's the width of the Roman road. So the width of the Roman road, and you've got the watchtowers. Okay, what they call watchtowers, and they are spread along the entire wall. There's 25,000 of them. 25,000 of these watchtowers, guys. This is the biggest structure on Earth, and it comes from Antiquity. They actually say they can see it from space. That's not the case, but they can see it from high up. This structure, there's nothing like it anywhere in the world. Okay, this is the best bit of engineering anywhere here. So the watchtowers, okay.
There are whole cities from the ancient world that do not have as much architecture as the wall does. 25,000 castles.
Yeah, basically.
That's what these towers are when you look at the inside of them and how deep they go.
So we looked into what is the distance between these towers. Turns out that the Roman measurement is 5,000 pedes, which is a sort of uniformic measurement at the time for the Roman world, which is an equivalent to a Roman mile.
Yeah, this was found out by basically Googling the distance between the towers and finding out they were uniform, which was my first clue. It's like, what? Why would they be uniform? I mean, you would go by topography and all that, but they're very uniform, again, showing a standardization engineering. So there's 5,400 feet. This is the mean distance between the towers. Now, because of topography, they had to vary that a few feet in different areas because of where the wall was at the time and where it would have put the construction. But 5,400, it was really easy to see because that's the distance of a Roman mile which is 5,000 pedes. We don't know if we're pronouncing that right. If it's pedes or pedes or pedes or I don't know, but it's P-E-D-E-S.
Yeah.
A Roman PEDES is a Roman mile, and in Roman feet it's 5,000. But translated today in our feet, it's 5,400 to 5,430. So to find this standardization in there is another clue that we're looking at, not Chinese. There is no Chinese unit of measurement that accounts for the distance between the towers. So it caused us to look a little further into the actual architecture of the towers themselves.
Indeed. Inside the towers, we were shocked to see that it was what looks exactly like Roman masonry. Compare it with the London sewer, okay, which was built by the Romans, and it's identical to what we're looking at here. The insides of these towers are big. Some of them are maybe 5 stories high. Some of them are smaller, and some of them are more crumbly bits of the wall. But as we said, some of this wall disappears and reappears again. But that is not Chinese engineering. These are Roman arches. This is a Roman style of brickwork. The flagstones on the floor, they could have been put in later. But these places, they were not guard towers. They were somewhere where you could get your head down. Now, it turns out to walk the great...
Did you mention Roman arches?
I just showed them examples. We've got the bridges to come and the equivalents. But so there's 25,000 of these towers, and we discovered that if you wanted to walk the Great Wall of China, and if we mentioned what it actually is, the road itself.
It is a road. It's an elevated, fortified road that was built to defend against anybody who tried to attack somebody using the road, which would have been very difficult because how high is it? How high is that road?
7.4 meters in its highest place.
Oh, I can't stand the European modes.
Okay, 25, about 25 foot at its lowest.
Yeah, I got a lot of I got a lot of people in the US and Canada.
Yeah, and maybe 45 foot at its highest, but an average of around 25 to 30 foot. This thing's high, but it does vary. And if you wanted to walk the Great Wall of China, or the road itself, it would take you 18 months.
18 months to walk a wall that was never lower than 20 feet over the top of the ground and fortified with basically accommodations for water and food and lodging every Roman mile, and protected on both sides from anybody who would try to do anything. But that was just the lowest, because the average is 25 feet, but in some areas the Great Wall is 40 feet elevated. But it's a road that goes over 5,000 miles, and it's fortified.
But more, because this road is not just any road, is it? It's the most famous road in antiquity.
The most famous.
Yeah.
Talked about in hundreds and thousands of books.
The Great Wall is the Silk Road.
100%.
We can show you on the maps. It follows the route of the Silk Road. So what we're looking at is from the Pacific coast, a Roman road that goes all the way from the Pacific all the way to possibly Britain. So the Roman Empire, the extremities, is as far as the Pacific coast, all the way through China. A trade route, and what are they taking and what are they buying? What's going on with this What is this road for?
Okay, we are anticipating ourselves.
We're gonna excited.
We need to show them the evidence of the Roman bridges used on the Great Wall.
So what you find is the Great Wall goes over some rivers. Okay, and what you're looking at here is one of the bridges that carries the Great Wall over the river. And what we've seen is this is not Chinese engineering. We'll show you some examples, but what it is a Roman style of bridge and a Roman style of engineering, and nothing like the ornamental style of what you get with Chinese bridges. No two are the same, are they? You know, these Chinese bridges, the ornamental, the arch like this. This does not exhibit anything like you would see in the Oriental world. But what it does exhibit is it looks European and it looks Roman.
And it's very Romanesque, meaning the Romans built for utility. Their constructions are austere when they didn't need to have to employ aesthetics like they did in Rome. And the capital of Rome is full of aesthetics, arches, the triumph, all that, but not when it was only utility was required, such as a massive project like this. It's without decor, and it didn't need it. It served a utilitarian function to do something, and we're going to explain what that was and why it was desperately needed. And we're going to also itemize the absolute proofs that this was going on. But we need to show them Chinese bridges, because here you're going to see that there's no Chinese standardization. There's no engineering or architectural standardization.
Down to the individual architects, maybe. You know, because there's no two the same. Every single one is the same, like aesthetics. You've got the decoration.
The Chinese built beautiful bridges, beautiful bridges,
but no two the same.
Much creative license was employed. You can see their culture in their architecture. None of that is employed in the Great Wall.
None. You does not exhibit anything remotely. The pagoda, you know, that pagoda roofs on top of some of the towers, which will give you a suggestion of China. But they're later adaptations. You know, this is is there a date on there? No, I can't make it out. But as you can see, you know, this is some sort of stone bridge, but it's a completely different sort of style, feel, and everything to what you get with the Romans. This is the sort of standard style of Chinese architecture, with pagoda buildings, things made out of wood, things made out of paper. Okay, and bamboo. These are really rudimentary ways of making architecture that the Chinese were practicing in the ancient world. You know, they were pretty, dare I say, backwards back then, before the advent of, you know, Western thinking. So this would have been your average Chinese house. This is one left over from Antiquity, and all you get is cobbled stone, rough stone, no dressing, no, you know, perpendicular bits, no beds as such, just a load of, like a drywall that's been just thrown together is what you get with Chinese architecture, not fine masonry and fine brickwork anywhere in the Chinese world. This is an example, although it's got Antiquity on it. It's a beautiful Chinese bridge which exhibits nothing. You can see the rough stonework on the bottom here. It's just cobbled together. It's not dressed stone, guys. This is just stones chucked in with some mortar, and then there's your bridge. There's no quality involved with it.
So having shown this right here, have you yet shown them just the different types of topography the wall goes through?
Oh God, yeah, I'll get to that now. Just go back a little bit. So yeah, the topography is absolutely nuts. It goes through grasslands, deserts, mountain ranges, everything you can imagine on its 5,000 mile journey. But as we know now, this would have extended on possibly right the way across to Europe. This was, even in the official narrative, it was called the Imperial Highway. We are dealing with a road, an elevated road, probably out of the way of bandits, etc. Both sides, because of what was being carried along this road and what it was really for.
Absolutely. So here are some facts that anybody can verify. We know that the establishment has led us to believe that this is the Great Wall of China built by the Chinese. And initiated in 220 BC, But there's other facts promoted by the establishment that kind of give way to the idea that something else was going on. And this is the fact that in 166 AD, Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Roman emperors of all time, he sent delegations from the Persian Gulf to China, and it's in the historical record. So there was interaction between the Chinese and the Romans. Contact, according to the official narrative, contact between China and the West actually began around 200 BC. And that's real close to 220 BC when the wall construction began.
Indeed. That's
so, interestingly, this project would have required a tremendous amount of labor. And yes, we know that there's a lot of Chinese people, and they have been used many times by many different cultures and civilizations and time periods for building projects. The Great Wall could have been just that. The builders, the laborers could have indeed been Chinese. They built the Great Wall.
Yeah.
But we are suggesting that it was Roman engineers that designed the entire thing.
Well, they did the same thing in modern days with the railway through America. Who built that?
That's right.
Well, who designed it?
Union Pacific.
Pacific.
American engineers designed it. Chinese coolies built the whole railway system.
So the same thing.
So here's what's interesting. The chronology works because according to the official narrative, the Silk Road opened to all nations in 130 BC. That means that this construction would have probably been initiated at 200 different places at the same time. It would have only taken one or two Roman engineers to spread out over the whole Silk Road as the Chinese followed suit and built according to the plan. Minimal Romans were involved. The Chinese built the wall to Roman mathematics, Roman engineering, Roman austerity. So this gives well over 80 to 90 years that this construction project would have been initiated. It had been ongoing, but it wasn't someone building the wall right here and just spanning out. It was probably 200 or 300 different sites, all at the exact same
uniform
time.
plan.
And they all touch each other. When the construction gets done. And it would have been done much faster than you think. And the Romans wouldn't have had to hardly use any resources to do it. So these are really interesting things. But now Martin did say he did infer that the Romans were getting something from that area that would have made this Herculean effort worth it. Do you know what those items are?
Well, we made some discoveries.
We did make a mistake.
We did.
We made one mistake. It's about opium. We can credit Shiva Shampoo right now for correcting us on the historical record. Opium was introduced into China. At this time in ancient history, it was India, Afghanistan, and Greece that had the poppy. But in this time period, the Chinese did not have the opium. It was introduced at this time by someone else.
Interesting.
So opium is still
it's still in the official narrative. If you look at it in Wikipedia itself, it said that the Roman world had a dependency on opium. They used it for operations. They were highly advanced in surgical procedures. Also, there was a lot of addiction, apparently, in the Roman world. Okay, so they're not only interested in opium, they're interested in silk. They're interested in porcelain and porcelain figurines, etc. They're interested in
jade, tea, ivory.
That's
a lot of these things that come from China, but the Chinese were only interested in gold. However, the evidence now shows that Martin and I had it backwards. The Romans were importing opium into ancient China.
Just like the two opium wars of the 1800s, where the British have addicted the entire population, or the East India Company, etc.
East India Company did the same thing. Get the Chinese addicted to opium, then use them for labor.
You pay them with that.
We're seeing the exact same pattern that is unfolded today.
They probably were paying them to build the wall.
Opium and gold.
Yeah.
So the Romans, It's not theoretical, guys. Archaeologists will confirm. This is easily confirmed by you by doing your own homework. Opium was everywhere in Roman society. It was used in cesarean section births. It was used in medicines.
Diarrhea control.
Yes, it was used for recreational use, and many Romans had a dependency on it. Therefore, opium does play a part in the Silk Road, but it was being sent that way. So this is yeah, Shiva Shampoo educated me on
that. Yeah,
that.
that's really Andy. No, he's in India.
He's in that part of the world.
Yeah, he's in that part of the world.
So okay, we did skip over something that we need to go back to, and that is the fact the Romans didn't just build a new construction on older Paleolithic architecture. This was the standard of the Romans. We need to show them Petra. We need to show them Baalbek and Petra.
So yeah, there's other examples. They won't exactly tell you in the official narrative about, the Romans came in and built these places, and after a reset they find these places. They call them basically founders because they found it. They're Freemasons because it's Freemasonry. But this the image now we're seeing is true. It's true. The image we're seeing now is Petra, okay, which is also on the Silk Road, and it is a classical Greco-Romano style architecture.
It's on the Silk Road.
It's on the Silk Road.
It's a civilization that goes back thousands of years, hundreds of caverns, substructures. It's an infrastructure underground and inside the mountains. The Romans took it over. Show them the pictures of what they did to it. This is the old Roman architecture.
Yeah, this is it. No, just showing you. They come along and they make it Greco-Romano. So this is a couple of Petra examples. It's supposed to be some sort of treasury. Now that would make sense, bringing all of that gold through to,
it would be a treasury.
I think it would be.
It's a way station for the Romans.
And it would be a good safe as well, because it's in that narrow gorge, isn't it? Where the bandits going to get in.
That's right.
They got them trapped. They won't get it out.
It's perfect.
So it's perfect, yeah. So also Baalbek. Baalbek
is in Lebanon. This is an excellent example of Roman architecture built on top of a Paleolithic, ancient architecture of gigantic blocks, so big that they would break most tractors today.
And these are the same size sort of stoneworks as you just seen
on the Great Wall.
Of the Great Wall, okay? And this place is, it's been cited by many sources.
Here's the Trilithon.
The Trilithon there. This thing is immense. If you go inside it, there's tunnels inside it with bigger blocks than what you see visible. These are just, it's supposed to be a world of horse and carts, guys. How are they getting these things there in the first place and dressing them? That quarry in Baalbek where that giant obelisk is.
You got a picture of one?
I haven't got that one in particular.
Oh, I have it too. I just didn't send it to you.
These guys have just arrived, and it's like a place built by giants. And you can see the classical architecture, the Roman architecture. The place looks like it's taking a bit of a melting here. Look at that. That is incredible. They literally fused these columns. I never noticed that when I looked earlier. But yeah, you can see the Neolithic and then the change in classical theme, the cover up, what they keep doing. When they find these places. Temple of Bacchus in a artwork of the past, but what this watercolor shows is the temple looks a lot more, built up than it is in the modern day. Also, we're looking at a Greco-Romano scenery, okay, in Baalbek, which is the Romans. What you can see here, Baalbek again, you can see pillars with Corinthian tops, which attribute to Greek, Greco-Romano architecture, and on top, something that looks like a viaduct or an aqueduct, and vaulting, which is the Romans. This is evidence. The Romans here, and they added to Baalbek and Petra and many, many other sites, guys, as well.
We're looking at a Roman takeover of the Silk Road. And not only did they take it over, but they got the Chinese involved, which means the Chinese emperor received a lot from Rome for basically throwing his people into the project at the under the leadership of the Romans. So we're also dealing with the Romans were practical. They are excellent administrators. They would not send hundreds of tons of gold, and this is in the historical record.
Hundreds of tons.
Hundreds of tons of gold annually into China, unprotected. Therefore, we're looking at a takeover of the Silk Road by the Roman Empire. And then the Roman Empire sending engineers out there to have this massive construction built to protect their investments. Now we understand the crenellations. Now we understand why the Romans put crenellations on both sides. They're not worried about nomadic goat herder and pig herder Mongols that never attacked China in all of Chinese history. They're not worried about that. And they're not worried about the Chinese who are involved in the project. The crenellations are for pirates, bandits, for anybody who's going to try and take that gold or the ivory or all the artifacts and everything.
All that value. You know, this is the most expensive highway. This is a city. You know, that spreads out over 5,000 miles, guys. You know, 25,000 towers. Can you imagine how many people are on this wall at any one time?
That's right.
In Antiquity.
That's right. So let's talk about two other things real quick.
Yeah.
First of all, the Chinese have never been known for their engineering expertise. They have never been known for that. Engineering prowess. They do not have impressive stone structures throughout China. They just don't exist. They built fantastic, awesome pagodas that may have stone, rough-hewn stone foundations, but they build with wood and bamboo, and they build with paper. Listen, this is the Chinese have never been known for these massive projects like the Great Wall, but the Romans were well known for it. Hadrian's Wall is the best evidence, but the Romans were known all throughout. Massive canal works and aqueducts. These are all of Roman provenance. You know, we don't even have to argue that. It's already well known that the Romans were master stone builders. We just knew that.
Master engineers, and like you said, you know, they kept, you know, the way that they, you know, that they run things, their projects. They were, you know, like the Nazis, very efficient in World War II. You know,
and they're resourceful.
Very resourceful.
It didn't take Roman laborers to do anything. The Romans probably sent a bunch of well-educated stonemason slaves because they were a slaver empire, and they probably sent all kinds of slaves to the Silk Road under the direction of Roman engineers, and then the Roman slaves even educated the Chinese, and then the Chinese just watched what was going on. Nobody had to speak the same language because you don't have to in construction projects. You learn real quick what you do and what you don't do. So all this was done very quickly. It wouldn't even taken a very long period of time. Not when you have the manpower of the Chinese. So we have another thing that we have to address, and that is trade expansion is not a trait of the Chinese ever. They are an isolationist culture and always have been.
Still are now. They still are now.
They still are now. 5,000 years into their cultural history, they're still isolationist. Very isolationist. In the 1880s, 1890s, the United States had to send warships just to get China to open up its borders. And this is an Oriental feature. This is an Oriental trait. They're very isolationist. They're very traditionalist. They do not like outside interference. They do not like change. They like to maintain the status quo. So, but this isn't the trait of the Romans. The Romans were almost into predatory trade tactics. And this fortification we call the Great Wall of China would have definitely been a project that they would have invested in because it would have protected their investments. They want these things from China, and the Romans easily got the gold from the provincial taxes. So it's those two things needed to see. What was the other thing? There was another thing we needed to discuss before we go into what this whole operation really was.
So far we've got basically the artifacts that have proved that there's an international trade between.
We do need to address that.
Yeah, so some artifacts, a lot of artifacts, dead bodies of white Caucasian Romans have been found in China. This is a coin of Constantine the Great, and it was found in the Great Wall.
In China, yep, there it is.
Also in Britain, in London, in Suffolk, in 2016, basically they found a load of dead bodies that were Oriental by nature from Antiquity. So the Chinese were in the Roman, Greco-Romano Britain world, back then. So they were traveling as far as Britain, in the extremities of the Roman Empire, as far as the Pacific, and the Romans, this proves, and the bodies that were found there, there's supposed to be hundreds. You can find it out on Google in the official record, guys. Look in for yourself. The Romans, even in the official narrative, were there at the Great Wall, or the Great Road.
Okay, but that discovery of that coin of Constantine was in Yongchang.
Yongchang.
It was in Yongchang. But I also have notes here about let's see, where Roman artifacts have been found in China in the Sichuan province. So we have 2 different locations that, I mean, there may be more. That's why we're asking for other content creators to get on board, man. Let's all look into this together. We're only cracking open the egg. You know what I mean? But it's going to take a whole lot more people to cook it.
So we got that the wall is the Silk Road. The road is the Silk Road. We got that it's a highway. We got that it's the same dimensions as Roman constructions, the bridges, inside of the towers, the distance of the towers, the width of the road. So this is Roman engineering.
We have Chinese seals that have been found in Ireland.
Yeah, imperial seals, and these are like power seals from officials and stuff of, you know, from the Chinese world in Ireland, guys, from Antiquity. So this, you know, this highway, if the imperial highway, what they called it, this thing is much more. This is.
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
You go on then.
This is the Amazon of the ancient world, and this is how it was done.
Yeah.
You saw how the wall ends in the Yellow Sea. It would have been an ancient, like a series of piers. Ships would have brought merchandise from everywhere up and down the coasts of Asia. All right, we're talking about, this is a major operation. They would have brought them to the end of the wall. Now, we're not assuming that Romans would have been dumb enough to walk 18 months to go pick up goods, deliver gold, and go pick up goods. No, we're talking about something far more sophisticated. We have 25,000 warehouses that are locked down every night. There's no traffic on the Great Wall at night. It's a defensive port. That's when the guards come out.
Locked up.
They lock it down. When the sun comes up, travel resumes, but the travel isn't what you think. We're dealing with Chinese with rickshaws, and sometimes with just shoulder bags, which is in the back, down the back and in the front, and they never stray far from home. They're only in charge of 7 to maybe 12 towers that they have to get the merchandise that comes. Roman administrators and Chinese administrators are there to log in everything coming and going through each tower. But each tower is only a Roman mile apart. So you can travel and always have access to fresh water, fresh food. You don't have to pack water and food. It's provided for you. Local communities provide different things to different towers. Some towers are only warehousing towers. This is Amazon of the ancient world. The Romans could put an order in at Rome for certain items, and they could probably get them from Roman warehouses the very next day.
It's a conveyor.
It's a conveyor belt.
It's a conveyor belt.
It is a conveyor of merchandise all year round. Merchandise is going down those towers toward Rome. Gold and opium is coming the other way. All year round, to the point, once the operation got started, the Chinese are steadily funneling stuff tower to tower to tower. In one day, they could travel 10 to 15 towers. It's only 15 miles.
So you can't look. You wouldn't be able to carry the water for an 18-month journey. So these towers are going to have storage in some. They're going to have everything from pharmacies to brothels. They're going to have every single thing that a city has in each one of these 25,000 towers. You wouldn't need to walk. So imagine you've got a Roman envoy, and you went as far as one tower. You get somebody from the next tower picking up the banner, so to speak, and then off with that. It would have been a courier service, just like Amazon today.
It's the longest conveyor belt in history.
It's the longest conveyor belt in history.
It would have been so efficient, and it's exactly what the Roman mind would have designed. It's precisely.
Look, these towers, even in the modern day, right, guys, you can stay in them. They're hotels. So why wouldn't they be hotels in the past? Nothing new under the sun. Even the Chinese proposed, surprisingly, I'm surprised to find this out, but they proposed, why not make the Great Wall of China a road?
Yeah,
Because that is exactly what it is.
that's exactly what it is.
Okay, so they're going to make a super highway on the Great Wall of China in the 1930s. There's plenty of newspapers they showed you, Great Wall of China. They actually show you them taking stocks on rickshaws, like, you know, on the Great Wall. And this is what they had planned. Again, if they're thinking it, nothing new under the sun, that's what it was in the past. A super highway, conveyor belts, convenient. There might be millions of permeations to this. This is just, Amazon is definite.
We expect resistance. And the reason we respect existence because academia has fallen for the liberal mindset of the very people who control academia today. And we understand that to claim that the Great Wall of China is not Chinese and it was actually engineered by somebody else, it's automatically their defense is racist. You're racist. Although here's the evidence, we don't set it out. So this
they're
is
claiming it for themselves though, and they haven't built it. Or they built it, but they haven't designed it. And have you heard anywhere in any? It's like we've all been blind to this. It's like they put blinkers over one of the 8 wonders of the world. Honestly, when we were unfolding this story, we were like, how the fuck did we miss?
Did we not see this?
We had Max Egan here, you know, earlier on. He's gone now, but he was saying like, of course, if that's exactly what it is, how did I not see this before? Once you know, and you know, you really think about it and show the evidence, that is exactly what it is. But it's got the potential to upturn the whole historical narrative. The Roman Empire is much more than they told us, and you know the fact that the Chinese are covering up and claiming European engineering and claiming it as their own.
And, you know, it is old, and many parts have been rebuilt with some of the original masonry and all that. But the Great Wall's crumbling.
Yeah. So is their narrative.
And that about sums up our video, guys.
All roads lead to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome.
Don't you know?
You can cut it.
Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to get involved with this, guys, and make sure to put your input in the comments section. Tell us what you think. We'll pick up on it all, and basically, always going to be epic. Thanks for being here. This will be posted a little bit later. See you all soon. Much more to come. I hope you enjoyed. Peace and love.